I think the best advice I can give is, I mean, know your audience, know, be aware of resources.
Welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Creatives. Today I have invited a colleague and friend and someone I look up to, Kurt Doles. He is the director of the Mid-American Center for Contemporary Music, and today I've invited him to do something a little different. We are outside. Kurt, what are we doing today?
We're making barbecue. We are making pulled pork today.
Yeah, I mean it's funny when he recommended it, and he said it takes about 8 hours ish, maybe more. I was like, yes, let's figure this out. So today's episode, the format might be a little bit different. We're going to be checking in over time. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, leave comments below. If you decide to try this, I think it's kind of crazy, but it's absolutely worth it. Totally delicious. Please post below and let us know. Kurt, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and where you're coming from?
Well, yeah, I'm the director of the Mid-American Center for Contemporary Music at Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio, south of Toledo, where we have a very long and rich history of supporting new music, contemporary music projects. We have a very well thought of new music festival that takes place every October. We are going on, this will be the 41st year of that festival. I have been director for a while now, not since the beginning.
I'm going to close her up. I just put the coals on, I put the meat on the grill, and we're going to let it smoke. We're going to check on it, every 45 minutes to an hour or so, just to make sure. We're also going to, if it starts to look dry at some point, we're just going to spritz it a little bit with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Not too much though. And so while this is going, we'll check back in every, like I said, every 45 minutes to an hour. Meanwhile, Kurt and I are going to have just a short discussion to talk a little bit about the new music festival that Bowling Green hosts. And so, Kurt, can you just tell us a little bit about it? What is it?
Well, it's a University New Music Festival. It's usually it's 4 days in October. Again, we've been doing it since 1980, so this is the 41st festival. I'm very proud that since the beginning, there are some University New Music Festivals where it's, congratulations, you have a piece, bring your own performers. We do everything in-house. We have a mix. It's not just faculty, it's faculty, grad students, and undergraduate students. The large ensembles perform. We really sort of spread the love around a lot, and it's really a collaborative effort throughout the entire College of Musical Arts here at BG, where really everybody is involved in some way. It's not just the composers, it's not just our doctoral students in new music. It's choirs, band, orchestra, everybody. It's all hands on deck. So you have, sometimes you've got freshmen walking, some freshman violin player coming in, right out of high school. Suddenly it's like, oh, here's the music of Bernard Rands, and deep into the pool, and I think that's a very useful tool for pedagogy in a lot of ways, where it's like, well, you want to be a musician, you got to be able to do everything. So yeah, we've had again 41 special guest composers over the years, guest ensemble every year. We always bring in an outside ensemble as well, and I think we are well over 500-600 other composers who had their music on this festival over these many years.
Wow. Yeah. I think I will say, like, I sometimes wish that as an undergraduate student, that I would have had that type of new music community, because as many people know, that's not necessarily the
Yeah.
how every composition program, and um, how every instrumental program gets access to. I'm sure students have access to performers very easily, and I'm sure that's probably not as big of a conversation there as it is in other places.
Yeah, it's not as, I mean, not to disparage any other school, and I certainly wouldn't do it by name, but in terms of what our student composers have to do to, find performers, they don't have to work that hard here.
Yeah.
It's not like they're competing for the same pool of like 12 people, like you have in a lot of other places where new music it's a part of the everyday life of a music student here at Bowling Green, and I know that is the exception and not the norm.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the fact that our faculty and our administration over the years has really gone out of the way to nurture that kind of environment.
Well, I know that I can sometimes be envious of that environment. I must ask, as you go through the adjudication process, can you talk a little bit about that and how scores for the festival are picked?
Well, our how we populate the festival has changed probably a good bit since the very, 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 very beginning. Back in the old days, I mean, we'd have a guest composer and a guest ensemble, and they would bring certain things to the table. We program X number of pieces by the guest composer. That's expected. But the most of the rest of the festival in the beginning came from call for scores, and until 2009. I think I'm saying that. I think that's right. Good one. It was on my watch. So yeah. Until 2009, the call for scores was a cattle call. It was a Yalcom call where people could send whatever they wanted and as much of anything they wanted. So you can imagine the white postal service. We'd get 2-3 of those things every day for months, and it was a full-time job for about 3 months of the year, just processing and cataloging that stuff. And that was difficult. That was very, very difficult. We, a lot of great music came in, but a lot of not really great music came in too. But the MACM office, the center office, luckily I have a graduate assistant, and it's a lot of their job is to, bear some of that load of processing stuff. And there's an initial sort of cull where you get rid of the stuff that's just, oh, here's a 4-hour opera. No, why did you send that? The things that are completely, untenable get sort of filtered out initially. And then things get sent to ensemble directors and performance faculty, and they in collaboration with their students make some suggestions that then the director sort of picks and chooses and makes it, assembles some sort of festival out of it. Now, we still run the adjudication that way, but the call now is all online, and it's very targeted, where we rotate it through different studios every year. So there's no, no studio is really burdened every single year with having to go through a couple hundred scores. So we spread things out a bit. Consequently, we only program 7, 8, 9 pieces off the call now, and there's a lot more things that are curated in by our faculty, and especially by our contemporary music doctoral students. I give them a lot of leeway to bring stuff to the table that they're passionate about doing. and the things that the faculty are passionate about doing. So I think you get a lot more. You get a little more emotional buy-in from your collaborators that way. But you also get a good mix of things from outside that, you know, composers people have never heard of, and then the composers that you're comfortable with, and it's my job to sort of keep all the plates spinning and make a coherent thing out of all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that letting, I think it's really important that passion goes into these types of things because I think that's what keeps them running. I think that if there's one person in charge and they're telling everybody what to play, and people are like, this is totally not something that I'm down to do, or have if they have no say, then I think that takes a lot of the agency out of it. It sounds like you've added a lot of agency
Yes.
for the performance faculty.
Yes. Yeah. And because of that, I mean, because of that, more often I can, you know, do some horse trading with them and say, okay, I really want this, and I know you don't want to do this, but if you do this next year, I'll give you this. You know, there's an awful lot of that. You know, it's just, you know, resource management in a lot of ways, and and that's, I mean, that's why, you know, I have a job. This is why this is a full-time job, is, you know, running this thing.
Yeah,
and all of our other programs.
that makes a lot of sense. So I guess the last question about the festival, I have to ask for people who are sending in scores, what maybe what is your biggest advice, and maybe to have a good application, and maybe what is something that people should maybe not do.
I mean, I think the best advice I can give is, I mean, know your audience, know, be aware of resources. You know, don't send an opera because it's not going to get. Don't send pieces that are an hour long. You know, it's much easier for me to program something that is, you know, 18 minutes or less, because I have only X amount of concert, you know, real estate. You know, I've got 9 concerts to fill. I can't be programming a bunch of 45-minute pieces, or you know, a composer is eating up a, you know, disproportionate percentage of our resources, and we're involving fewer people that way. So it's much easier to, you know, just as a curator, it's much easier to program pieces that are, you know, 10 to 15 minutes than 15 to 30 minutes. And, you know, be aware of who your performers might be as well. If you're sending orchestral works, and you know, I've seen a lot of really great student orchestral works over the years. But if you're sort of a, you know, Lachenmann, you know, leaning sort of person, don't send an orchestra piece that's going to be played by, you know, that you expect to be played by a bunch of kids. You know, consider the experience level of the people who will be, you know, looking, and think, you know, consider the experience of the conductors and the ensemble coaches that are going to have to teach this to their students as well. I mean, I'm not saying don't send hard music or anything like it, but just be sensitive to that it is an issue. It is an issue.
Yeah, I actually, I will say, I think that that's particularly for orchestral things. I think that people should keep in mind. I see like reading sessions where people submit things like this, and they get programmed because at a lot of universities, you know, the orchestral reading sessions while they might be in hot demand, they usually try their best to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to do it at some point during their degree, at least in the programs that I've been a part of. And, you know, for a reading session, asking students to sight read incredibly difficult music, I actually think it's a little bit disrespectful.
Even professionals. I was involved in one with a professional orchestra when I was a master's student. That someone who is now a fairly prominent composer, who I will not name, brought something that was I mean, it was just, even professionals could not do it justice in a sight reading, and it probably shouldn't have been picked, because of that. And then they were really just incensed, like, well, that orchestra isn't very good. It's like, dude, look at what you gave them.
Yeah. I think that I think it's really important personally, and this is the approach that I've taken when I submit things for any call for scores, is that the people on the other side are people. They're not the enemy. But I think that this is the approach that I've taken as a composer, just beyond submitting things for call for scores or anything, is that performers are people, and they're not just recreators of what your notation software says can do, and that you have to treat people with respect, and you have to respect their time. And that doesn't mean you can't write hard music. I've seen some really brilliantly written, challenging music. But just, I think that's the amazing advice. Just know your audience. Know who is going to be the one performing it.
Yeah, the only time I ever got into a physical altercation with another composer was I was functioning as a performer, as a clarinetist at this point, where they gave me something that was physically impossible to play, and they looked at me and said, "Well, it played back on the computer just fine." And that was it. And that was just, it's on. That's, nope. Someone's gonna learn a lesson here today.
I will say, like, I take the approach, and maybe this is too passive as a composer, I don't know. But I tend to say, if a performer says that it's impossible, and if I'm working with them, I usually trust the person. I usually trust them because, I usually don't work that often with performers that I don't have some sort of relationship with. And even if it was somebody who, like, I was selected for something, like, I usually will try to get to know said performers at some point before they play my music. And so if they say it's not possible, I usually trust my performers. And I know that there are situations where performers will say, hey, this isn't possible. But I actually think that happens less than composers think it is.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, this happened close to, at least 25 years ago.
Right.
I don't think that happens people say, well, the computer played it just fine. I don't think that happens as often now as it did back in the, in the finale 2.0 days, which, dates me a bit, but.
Yeah, well, hey, I think that that's a really good, pardon my pun cadence. And so we are gonna let our barbecue just go for quite a while now, and we're gonna check in a couple hours, and we'll give you that update when that happens. So, see you soon. Let me know if you.
It's starting to get there, yeah. Mine's a little darker.
Yeah, but I'm also, like I said, I'm about to add more charcoal right now. So we just checked in. My pork is getting there. I'm looking at the sky, and let's see if we can see it. And it's like, as you can see, it's overcast. Kurt, it's raining over there, and it's probably going to start raining here in the next hour. So you think that transferring over to the oven will work for this, just because it's been, just so that we save it?
Oh, the magic temperature is 203 degrees internally. That's precisely where you need to be. It's still going to taste good. It's not going to be as pretty, but it'll still taste really good.
Anyways, we'll check back in or before I put it back in the oven, actually. So, anyways,
Fair enough.
see you in a little bit. So as you can see, we're both inside. Weather was not kind to us today, but that's the joys of cooking outside. Um, as Kurt mentioned, uh, we are supposed to make sure that the internal temperature is to 204 degrees is the magic number. Mine's not quite there. His is. So we're gonna just go for it, and I'm gonna check on mine in a little bit. So as you're taking it out, what are you gonna do?
Well, I just want to sort of show you the fork test here. Flip my camera around if I can here. Got my little tripod going. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. So what you're looking for is fork goes in, and you can twist it with zero resistance. It's just whoop. So you know you don't even need a knife. You can just have at it just with some forks, and it shreds up. And you can make sandwiches or use it however you wish. So
that looks amazing. Yeah, we're planning on doing sandwiches this evening, and I made some corn. And can we talk a little bit about barbecue sauce?
Yeah, sure. What I like to use would be, you'd call that more of a Lexington dip. It's a very vinegary sauce because pulled pork, so it's a little fatty. But the easy way to make it is you take about 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, about half to maybe 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, healthy squeeze of ketchup, some heavy pinch of salt, and some red pepper flakes. Bring that to a boil, take it off the heat, and it's sauce. It's done. Now, but any barbecue sauce, if you're more of a red sauce, a sweet red person, that's fine. If there's mustard based, that's fine too.
Mine is I'm basically done I'm almost done as well. I'm just waiting for that. But I want to just end it here. I'm going to take a bite of mine at the end. This has been an absolute pleasure. I did want to say one quick question for you that I thought of in our downtime about the New Music Festival. I know that new music festivals are getting reprogrammed and changed around. I'm curious to know what you've changed during this time.
Well, we are opting to go all online this year. We will be releasing episodes around the middle of October when the festival would have been. But we'll have 3 concerts featuring our students and faculty, which we are even recording now. We have begun that process already before. We're trying to get as much done with people who are around over the summer as we can, simply just in case this thing goes south on us again. So we have enough material for at least a couple of concerts. I'll be doing an interview with Augusta Reed Thomas, who's our guest composer, and Third Coast Percussion is still our ensemble, and they will be performing live from their fancy studio in Chicago concert as well. So we're 41 years. We're unbroken. We're still going.
That's so great. So if people want to tune into this, learn more about the festival, what's the best way to learn more and get involved?
Well, we're on Facebook. Look for Mid-American Center for Contemporary Music on Facebook, or bgsu.edu/MACM, MACCM.
Hey, this has been really, really an absolute joy. I hope that people who don't know about this festival, which I'm sure many of the people watching do, but for those that don't, please go check it out. I've attended once before, and it really is just an absolute spectacular, mix of things. It's a very eclectic mix of things, and it's, as an outsider, I definitely am all on board. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, leave comments below, and thanks for going on this 8-hour ride with me twice.
Well, you're very welcome, Spencer. It's always nice to talk.
Well, have a really great rest of your evening. Enjoy your evening with your family.
Okay.
Cool.
Have a good one.